Okay, I am going to do a little video on how to complete this paper. I'm going to put it a little higher, kind of blurry. So for this part of your project, you need to find the percent of your income that each of your expenses is. So I'm going to do one example. I'm going to do the rent example that I have up here. I'm going to show you how I got 62%. So like we have been talking about in class, or we have at least once, and we took notes on it, when you find a percent, you can use division. So first, what you will have in your information, you'll have, okay, well, you have like a list of all your expenses. So one might be rent. My rent is, in this case, $9,600 or $9,600 per year. So I'm doing this per year. You can also do it per month if you want. So, and my total income is $15,500. So I need to find out what percent this is of this. And in order to do that, we can divide. So first, we would turn this into a fraction to make it a little bit more clear, at least in my opinion. So if we're saying this amount out of this amount, this number is the part, and this is the whole. This is your whole income. Part of it is taken up by rent. So part whole, the part is 9,600, and the whole, because that's how we write fractions, part over whole is 15,500. So we know, we should know, we need to know, get it stuck in your head, that all fractions can be division problems. So you could do top number, this line means divided by, top number divided by the bottom number. And I always say top number in the house. People always want to put the bigger number in the house, but definitely get that out of your head if it's in there. The top number always goes in the house. And the bottom number goes outside the house. So when we first look at that, we go, okay, well, the question is, how many times does this fit into this? And it doesn't. It's too big. It doesn't fit in even once. So that's when we start adding decimals and zeros. But first I'm going to estimate. I'm going to use my paint. I like my paint for my estimating. My estimate, well, I think at least half of this would go into this, so I'm going to make an estimate that it is about, my answer is about half. So I know that it's going to be less than 1 or less than 1. It's definitely going to be less than 1. If I get something bigger than 1, I know I did something wrong. Okay, so now I'm going to add, because this I would just put, this goes in 0 times. But I can't just stop there, because then Miss Crystal is going to say, oh, you didn't do your whole math problem, and she'll make you do more. So I'm going to add 3 zeros, and the reason why I add 3 zeros is because I always want you to round to the nearest hundredth, and if you go 3 digits past the decimal, then you can round to the nearest hundredth. You do not have to keep going forever. Just stop at 3 digits past the decimal and round to the nearest hundredth. So for this one, I'm going to just do the traditional method of long division. So I'm going to get started. So I got my decimal here. Your decimal goes straight up, right after the 0. So since I put a 0 here, my decimal is going to go right after the 0. So now I can estimate, okay, how many times does it go into this number here? 9,000. 96,000. So basically you can estimate it by asking how many times does 15 go into 96? Well, let's see, I can count by 15. I think 15 goes into 96 times. 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 90. And I will just double check over here. So this is my multiplying to see what's left over. So 15 times, I think I said 6. So 6 times 0, 6 times 0. 6 times 5 is 30, put the 0, carries the 3. 6 times 5 again, 30, plus 3, carries the 3 again. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. Okay, so I got pretty close. So 6 is my start. So minus 93,000. And I'm going to subtract 0, 0, 0, 6 minus 3. Yay, no grouping. 3,000. So I bring down, and I didn't write this up first, but I'll write this up here. Remember, when we're dividing, we want to do divide, multiply, bring down, divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, repeat. Now I'm in the, I just brought down, and now I'm going to repeat, go back to the beginning, back to division. Okay. So, well, I know that 15 goes into 30 twice, but it's 15,500, so it's going to be too much. It's going to be a little bit over, so I'm going to say that it just goes in one time. So, and now I don't really even have to multiply, because 1 times this number is just going to be this number. That's the rule of multiplying by 1. Whatever you multiply by 1 is just going to be whatever you're multiplying by. So now I subtract again. Now I do have to borrow, so 0 minus 5, you can't do that, it's negative 5, but we're not doing negative numbers since you have all this over here. So take that, 3 becomes 2, then that becomes a 10, but you still need for this guy, so cross him out, this guy becomes a 9, this becomes a 10. 9 minus 5 into minus 1. Whoa, no way. I couldn't have done that right. This is a 4. Ha. 9 minus 5 is 4. Like, no way, that can't be right. And if you were to get that same number right here, or a bigger number, then you know you did something wrong and you gotta change this one. So, maybe I should do a problem where I purposely make a mistake. That was an accident, but it was good because it brought up that whole issue of, that happens a lot, where kids will get a number here when they subtract, and it'll be that number or bigger, and you can't keep going at that point. You have to re-figure out your division. Okay, so now I bring down again. This is my last number to bring down. You always have to bring down all the numbers. You can't stop in the middle. I mean, unless you keep getting zeros, and then you can stop. Anyway, this into this. So I'm going to guess how many times. I think it's 9, because this number was so close to this number that I'm pretty sure it's going to go in a lot of times. I mean, this times 10 would be just a little over that, so I'm going to say times 9. 0 times 9 is 0. 9 times 0 is 0. 9 times 5 is 45. There's a 4. 9 times 5 is 45. 46, 47, 48, 49. 9 times 1, 9. 10, 11, 12, 13. Alright, so we got 13, 500. Subtract. Oh, and I'll write the 9 up here. And I can see that this number is bigger. I'm going to just make sure that I don't need to add in, sure that everything is right. I should be able to just stop, but it's always good to check. Regroup. 10 minus 5 is 5. Can't do 4 minus 9, so we have to regroup again. 14. 14 minus 9 is 5. 3 minus 3 is, okay, 0 and 0. I didn't write 0. So now I'm left with this number, and that's smaller than that, so we're good. We don't have to add another 0. Our estimate, or our answer is 0.619. So 0.619, ouch, 0.619, if we're rounding to the nearest hundredth, it's going to be 0.62, because you look to the next number, and if you look at it like this, 19 is closer to 20 than it is to 10, so it's 0.62 or 0.620. So now, your percent is not 0.62. Your percent is, percents are always out of 100. So to make this a percent, there's a couple different ways you could do it. A percent, this is 62 hundredths. If you read it the way you're kind of supposed to read a decimal, this is in the hundredths place, this is in the tens place. You read it as 62 hundredths, which equals 62 hundredths. 62 out of 100. So those two things are the same thing. But this is still not a percent, that's a fraction. We want it in percent form. So this, 62 out of 100, well, all percents are out of 100, so that just becomes 62%. There's also, so you can turn it into a fraction first, and then turn it into a percent, if this makes more sense, knowing that percents are all out of 100. Or, you have 0.62, and you move the decimal over that way. If we moved it over this way, it would end up being 0.0062, and you should know that that wouldn't make any sense. 1, 2, so that equals 62. The decimal would be here. You don't have to write it if it's at the end of the number. 62%. And so when it was a decimal, we rounded to the nearest tenth, and then our percent is just a whole percent. Now, always look back and ask yourself if it makes sense. 62%. So that's like a little over half, and our estimate was about a half. So the fact that our estimate was about half and our answer is a little over half, this 9,600 is a little more than half of 15,500. So our estimate, or our answer, makes sense. Remember, 50% is half, because it's 50 is half of 100. All right.